Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gaming Daddy channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today, I wanted to go ahead and do a technical assessment on the Division 2, and I think I'll start this as a series from time to time, and I'll create a whole playlist for it because one of the beautiful things about this game is the technicality of a lot of the design, implementation, and all, and it's really interesting to see. Now, this is basically going to be a series that I'll call Useless Talents, in quote, and we'll look through a number of talents that are, in quote, useless or, I would say of no consequence in the general consensus. And we'll talk about them and see if they really are useless or not useful, or if they're just tuned for specific instances, and if they're actually the best in the instance that they're tuned for. And another thing, too, is in terms of using these talents, you have to make sure that you never have to separate the gameplay, the play style of the player and pretty much, kind of the preference. These are very important things, and you're going to see them flesh out as we're discussing these particular issues in the game. So today I'm going to be looking at the talent Glass Canon. Glass Canon is quite controversial. Now, this is no slight to, content creators that do build videos. In fact, if anyone does a really good build video that I see, that I like, I usually, from time to time will talk about it and actually tell the community to check it out. But one thing I don't really notice is Glass Canon being used as much when it comes to depicting stuff. Now, I get it. A lot of you like to build your own way, and I encourage that because that's how you will eventually find your play style. A lot of people don't watch build videos, but then you also have a lot of people watching build videos, and so that influences a larger consensus. And usually some talents are left sleeping when in reality they would fit other people's styles if they would give it a shot. Glass Cannon, on the other hand, has been controversial for a while because it gives you the talent that says all damage you deal is amplified by 25% and all damage you take is amplified by 50%. So let's assess this talent. And let's look at its perfect version. Its perfect version is also more controversial than that because I've seen, a lot of people just basically dismiss and say, "Nah, I'm not dealing with this." This one says all damage you deal is amplified by 30% and all damage you take is amplified by 60%. This is a lot of damage, ladies and gentlemen. Amplified means that the damage is multiplied by 60%. When you're playing higher difficulty content, enemy NPC damage is basically multiplied by 60% and dropped on you if they touch you. In your case, anything you deal, Seeker Mine, Explosive, Grenade, whatever it is, that damage is instantly improved and multiplied by 30% extra. So that's quite interesting. I think there's a PvP stat modifier for it, but I don't care about PvP in this discussion. We're going to look at, kind of the PvE side of things. Now, here's the drill. How would you even justify using a talent like this? And say, okay, well, the good thing about talents is they're not designed for you to use them in vacuum. In fact, I think one of the reasons a lot of people will say stuff like, well, there are a lot of useless talents, and I've seen these comments on my videos, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not just throwing this out there. This is a constant nagging pain that I see in the community, is that a lot of these talents are not designed to be used in a vacuum or by themselves. You see, if you even go look at the best in-slot builds that we have right now in the game, no one even mentions Glass Cannon because it's almost inconceivable that anybody wants to take 60% extra damage. If you even go look at, say, even some weapons like the Backfire exotic, because it bleeds you, it's also something that a lot of people don't like. But in reality, I think there has to be a trade-off in some way for talents that seem to have a lot of potential, that are very potent in their use. So let me give you guys a scenario. So I'm running this particular mission, this legendary mission, with a number of people, right? And we have a new agent, somewhat newer, 134 shade level. I don't know if they're new, and I'm not throwing shade at anybody, by the way. This is just an example. I mean, I recorded the footage, so whatever. I am a little salty though. At the agent 3000 shade level, they were using some sniper rifle build. But, that's not necessarily what I'm interested in. What I'm interested in is their playstyle did not seem to match, the legendary encounters that we were playing. You see, it's one thing for you to be using novel builds when you're here, but it's another thing to make sure that those builds match the encounters. So we are doing very well. We pretty much take out this area. I mean, our Rusher kid, new agent, is just all over the floor. And, at one point, we're able to successfully get through 3 of us. But as the enemy NPCs are rushing us, through here, I mean, we're literally destroying them, by the way. I'm sitting in cover. My turret and my drone are just shredding NPCs. I mean, and look again, I'm using skilled, which I'll show you, or tech support, sorry, which I'll show you, which is a very good talent, by the way. But as the enemy NPCs are coming out, sniper rifle guy doesn't get the memo that, hey, you're using a marksman build, or I don't know what he had changed to. Maybe he wasn't using that build, but his build was not sufficient enough to knock out these guys. And he's sitting in cover. His health is low. I'm praying he would have some sense to, back away, but no, he doesn't do so. We get melted. He get rezzed, and he stays there. You see, this is another thing too, when, play really does matter. I mean, you're playing against these guys. There are 3 of us in the group, de facto 2, basically. We're carrying this guy, and he's not paying attention. He gets flanked and wiped. I already see it coming. I bounce because I know there's nothing I can do to res them. I don't even have a revive high for myself. But fortunately, I'm able to make it out, and pretty much he's gone. He just disconnects and leaves us there to fend for ourselves. But thankfully, I was using Glass Cannon. And I usually do this in a way where if I'm playing in a group, I understand that we might have an event where I have to come in. Now, if I had this build and it didn't work out, then it didn't work out. But I prepared this build for scenarios like that, and I'll show you the components of this build that makes it really sound. So, like I said, or like I'll usually say, these talents are not designed to be used in a vacuum. I also have another talent that I feel complements Glass Cannon so well, it's impossible, for anybody to throw away, how Glass Cannon works, especially when you see what tech support does. Skill kills increases your total skill damage by 25% for 20 seconds. That is a long duration. 20 seconds is literally 3 minutes in the division. I'm telling you, it's that much of time. And so when one enemy NPC is taken down, because I have my drone can move into position. And if I have tech support procced, it will really do a lot of damage. So I was fortunate enough to have a build set up like that, and I was dealing a lot of damage. Now, you may also ask, how do you heal yourself? How do you mitigate for that? I have the Emperor's Guard knee pads. Ladies and gentlemen, this gives you 1% armor regeneration, and as long as you're not running any armor regeneration inhibiting directives, you're fine. 1% of your armor is not even that much anyways. You'll get your armor back, in a good amount of times, but you're going to be playing in cover while using this setup. And fortunately for me, I was able to still go ahead and clear all these bad guys by myself, even though, when I tried to matchmake, people kept matchmaking in the middle of the enemies and kept dying. If you notice here, and this is a huge flaw, let's just throw this out there. The checkpoints for Roosevelt Island are really weird and legendary. And I think the enemies, they make it seem like once you finish this particular encounter, your checkpoint's all the way over here. Well, there's a huge number of waves that come all through here, and new people who joined me kept spawning here. I finally found 2 who were willing to stay dead until I knocked out all the enemy NPCs by myself, and then I was able to come back and, res them. But it was quite interesting. And again, like I usually say, because you're not running these talents in a vacuum, you also have weapon talents that are very good at knocking out or improving your damage. Now, ideally, people would say the capacitor would have been a good, thing to use, and great. But if you're a new player and you haven't gone to the summit to do your task to get a capacitor, you have a lot of other weapons that will grant you some really cool bonuses for your skills. I use in sync, and this basically says hitting an enemy grants you 15% plus 15% skill damage. That is additive. It will add 15% skill damage to you for 5 seconds. Using a skill or damaging an enemy with a skill grants you 15% weapon damage for 5 seconds. So there's an interchangeability with the grants. And then once both of them are hitting the enemy, you get a buff to double the damage factor by 2. So plus 30%, plus 30%. And so you see that in action when your skills are doing plus 30%. If you proc tech support and your Glass Cannon, you will literally be able to shred almost any enemy NPC. I mean, look at my drone. My drone basically went down there. But that's one thing they did to the game. They nerfed the drone health. The drones used to be so strong, and they were able to nerf it. So I was able to take out the enemy NPCs myself, and I went ahead and, res those folks. I match made, and, we didn't beat the mission, by the way, and you won't believe it. The same dude, right? The same dude that left somehow came back around and match made with us. and was rushing. Well, this guy left. This guy is he's actually a friend of mine, but he saw that I was carrying noobs and he disconnected. He just ran away. But we got that sniper rifle guy come back and literally did not in any way help us. In fact, he rushed. He took the newbies into a choke point. They knocked them down. But what my point of the story is it's nice for us to be able to look at these talents from a wide perspective. I think when we look at them just in a vacuum, it really does us a disservice to kind of like just look at them and overlook them and brush them aside. Because I can tell you that this particular build was one that I've been using for such a long time. Before we got the Scorpio in the season, I think season 3 or 4 or whatever it is was when we got, or season 5 was when we got Scorpio. Before we got the waveform holster, before we got the capacitor, this was one of the best builds to run, and still, in my opinion, is one of the best builds to run. But again, because of the ubiquitous nature of talking about builds and it not being highlighted, it seems to have been that the talent Glass Cannon has been shoved into the useless talent category. I don't believe it's useless, and I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Do you really think that Glass Cannon can work? Do you think it's too situational? I believe it's a very strong talent. I mean, now I know tech support. Nobody argues against tech support, honestly, because it's automated kill, automated damage buff. So people love it, and I don't think it's categorized as a useless talent. But Glass Cannon seems to be in that struggle. A lot of people seem to be, trying to dismiss or not. But I'll leave the conversation open in the comment section. Tell me what you think in the comment section. If you have any disagreements or if you use Glass Cannon, share your build pattern with us. Thank you so much for your time and audience. Hopefully we'll see you in another one. Peace out.